fantabulous evening. A warm welcome, my dear friends, for a great and much awaited evening. Let me profusely thank Dr. N.H. Krishnana and his team, Dr. Ravi Bhai, Dr. Narayan Pradeepa, Dr. Narendra Methupu, and entire CCA team, including Dr. Atri, for giving me this opportunity to steer this webinar. Exactly 18 months back, that's where we, the pulmonologists across the globe, pulled our swords and entered the battlefield to save our humanity selflessly. By last July, we have had a huge sigh of relief that remdesivir was available, and we all thought it was a magic bullet. By September 2020, we have had initial warnings from WHO stating that the new variants have been detected, and there's a lot more that we need to do in terms of research to identify these variants and how they behave, and what amount of public health importance that these variants are going to give. On a parallel front, we, that means humanity, there was immense hope on trials of vaccinations that were undergoing at that point of moment. At one point of time, maybe by the end of 2020, we were vehemently sure that vaccination has arrived, and we were expecting to become mask free. Does this happen? No, it has not happened. Yes, it is very true that viruses, particularly this COVID virus, have behaved more smart than humans. It has enhanced its strength and potency, and it has proven beyond doubt that it is much more smarter than humanity. And it has emerged into a lot of variants. So far, there is a multitude manifestations of this virus available, and so far identified were 10 variants. That is why our webinar is labeled as Dashamukha. Few of these variants emerged as more stronger ones, and they are called variants of concern, and rest of these mutations which led to different variants of variants which are less toxic to the public. So they were labeled as variants of interest. In cricket, if we can predict the next ball, whether it is going to be bouncer or googly, and that preparedness can be used to convert the ball into a boundary. Yes, similarly, if we are very much prepared, that if we are expecting a variant of concern that is going to cause havoc in the upcoming waves, then the preparedness with which we can face these different variants is entirely different ball game. So, and thus we can implement a lot of public health measures and infection prevention protocols so that we can flatten the curve successfully, thereby mortality and morbidity can be ameliorated. In this webinar, we will be discussing what are these Dashamukha, which of these variants are dangerous, whether these variants are really susceptible to the existing drugs like antivirals and cocktail regimens, and many more interesting topics will be discussed in the next 1 to 1.5 hours. Let me introduce my panelists today. Dr. Jay Prakash sir is Assistant Professor of Pulmonary Medicine from Government Medical College, Trivandrum. Welcome, sir. Dr. Aditya Chawla, young and dynamic, wonderful person. I know him for the past only few days, but the dynamism that he exhibited is enormous. He is currently working as a consultant respiratory medicine at Saroj Super Specialty Hospital and Jaipur Golden Hospital, New Delhi. He will be also briefing us or priming up today with a brief talk on what is the current scenario on COVID variants. Welcome, Dr. Aditya. Dr. Rupesh Modi, good friend of mine, is consultant chest physician and critical care specialist, working with Arihant Hospital and Research Center, Indore. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Giriraj, who lives in my next door, and very humble and very good human being, very good friend for the past close to 7-8 years. I welcome Giriraj Boma. He is currently working as an associate professor and head of the department, MRMC Medical College, Gulbarga, and he is the lead consultant at Adarva Chest Hospital, Gulbarga. Welcome, Giri. And last, another vibrant, young, dynamic pulmonologist of the country, Ashish Jain. He is currently working as an associate professor, Department of Critical Care Medicine, and he is also a director of critical care and COVID unit at MG Hospital, Jaipur. Welcome, Dr. Ashish. So, with this short intro, I would love to invite Dr. Aditya Chawla to go ahead and present on briefly. Aditya, you have only 7-8 minutes time. Please finish up your talk as quick as possible. My dear audience, meanwhile, please post all your doubts and queries in the link provided so that we will discuss in detail about COVID variants this night. Join us.
Thank you. Thank you for this brilliant introduction. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to N.S. Krishna sir, who provided me with this opportunity to share the dais with such esteemed faculty. I'd like to thank Mr. Dr. Vijay Kumar Chinamchetty sir, who helped me prepare this talk. So, dear CCI members, colleagues, teachers, and my dear friends, I would like to first of all revise with you what is COVID-19 and the basics of COVID-19 before we start our panel discussion, and how this concept of Dashamukha came into being. So we all know SARS-CoV-2 virus is an RNA virus. The first cases were identified in people with pneumonia in Wuhan. It was a widespread human-to-human spread and affected a large number of countries. It was declared as a pandemic on March 11, 2020 by the WHO. We all know how it spreads. It spreads through droplet infection and through fomite spread. What are symptoms? We are every day monitoring these COVID-19 patients day in and day out. We all know the common symptoms like fever, cough, sore throat, breathlessness, and fatigue. Patients can also have additional symptoms like headache, muscle aches, sudden loss of smell and taste, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, and appearance of rashes. Patients even had COVID tongue, COVID thumb, COVID fingers, and many other symptoms which are not accounted for. Many patients recovered fully in about 2 weeks. In other patients, some symptoms like cough, breathlessness, fever, fatigue, mood swings extended for weeks and months. Still, patients are coming in with complaints of fever, intermittent in nature. For the patients who have been suffering, who suffered from COVID in April or March 2021. Now, what is the incubation period? The incubation period is the time between the exposure to a virus and the onset of symptoms. For COVID-19, symptoms may show 2 to 14 days after exposure. People with are most contagious who are most symptomatic, but still studies show that who didn't have symptoms, still they may be contagious. What are the emergency warning signs? Difficulty in breathing, drop in saturation, persistent pain in chest, confusion, and cyanosis. The suspected case, a person who has both consistent signs and symptoms and the risk factors is a suspected case. A confirmed case is a suspected case who has been confirmed by laboratory evidence, RT-PCR positive for SARS-CoV-2 virus. How long does this SARS-CoV-2 virus survive outside the body? They may persist on surfaces for a few hours or up to several days, depending on the condition and the type of surface. They're likely to be killed with a simple disinfectant. Who people are at an increased risk of severe illness? Patients who are suffering from comorbidities, heart disease, lung disease, diabetes, suppressed immune systems are the patients who are at the major risk of severe illness. Now we all know how to diagnose COVID-19. Treatment has been shared by ICMR and AIMS people for mild, moderate, and severe disease for the patients in home isolation, in wards, and in the ICU. The guidelines has been laid specifically, and many changes have been made since 2020. Now, what is a long COVID or post-COVID syndrome? Long COVID or post-acute COVID is symptoms extending beyond 3 weeks, and chronic post-COVID syndromes is the symptoms extending beyond 12 weeks. Common long COVID symptoms include extreme tiredness, shortness of breath, pain in chest, problems with memory and concentration known as brain fogging, difficulty in sleeping, depression, anxiety, intermittent fevers, cough, headache, sore throat, changes in the sense of smell or taste like metallic taste, and rashes. Now we all know who Dashamukha is. Ravan, the Rachayata of Ramayana. He had 10 faces of horror. Same as that, the Ravan of 2021 and 2020 is SARS-CoV-2 virus. And the 10 faces of SARS-CoV-2 virus are the variants of interest, the variants of concern. The alpha, beta, gamma, delta are the variants of concern, and epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, and kappa. These are the variants of interest. Variants of concern are the variants who bother the government very much. And delta was the cause of the second COVID wave in India. Now, how do we end this COVID-19? We have all we have all suffered through COVID-19. This was a very major calamity that came to the world, and now the after a lot of research, it has been found that vaccination is the only answer to COVID-19 virus. And not only COVID-19 virus is protected by a vaccine, is treated by vaccination, but we also have to follow COVID appropriate behavior like social distancing and mask. I will definitely like you to know some latest developments that will make us proud of our country. A warm COVID vaccine has been developed by the Institute of Science Bengaluru, which has proven effective against all current SARS-CoV-2 variants of concern, according to a study in the animals. The formulation also protected the hamsters from the virus and remained stable at 37 degrees Celsius up to a month and at 100 degrees Celsius for up to 90 minutes. This research has been published in the ACS Infectious Disease Journal on Thursday. Dr. Grenfall said, a thermostable or warm vaccine is critical for remote or resource limited locations with extremely hot climates such as India, who have lacked reliable cold storage supply chains, and also in communities in Australia's outback and the Indo-Pacific region. Vaccination is voluntary. All who are medically eligible are encouraged to be vaccinated. An important note, information on COVID-19 is rapidly changing, sometimes daily, so we have to refer to reliable sources such as CDC, OSHA, NIOSH, state health departments, and peer-reviewed science publications. Thank you. Now, I hand over the dais to Dr. Vijay Kumar Chenamchetti for proceeding with the panel discussion. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Aditya, fantastic,
Thank you.
intro. Really, appreciate for the brilliant efforts that you have, invested.
Thank you.
Fantastic job. So let me uh, invite all audience. Please, post all your questions so that we can cover at the earliest. So let me ask Dr. Ashish Jain. Hi, Ashish.
So,
So very good evening.
good evening, Dr. Vijay.
So here is a question which is, asking about, very basic difference of RNA and DNA virus. Can you please elaborate?
First of all, thank you, Dr. Vijay and CCI, for giving me this opportunity to speak in this eminent panel. You asked me about DNA and RNA viruses. So, viruses are very small, tiny infectious particles which require some host cell for the replication. And based on their genetic structure, their genetic genomes, there are two types of viruses. One is DNA virus and other are the RNA viruses. If you talk about DNA viruses are generally having double-stranded genome, which requires nucleus of the host cell for the replication and formation of proteins. The examples of DNA viruses are the pox virus, herpes virus, and we have adenovirus with that. On the other hand, RNA viruses are the viruses which have single-strand RNA, and they can replicate in the cytoplasm of the host cell also. And they can transcript the protein also. And some of the examples of RNA viruses are the SARS virus, COVID viruses, influenza viruses, hepatitis viruses, HIV viruses. So the basic difference between them is the place of their replication as well as the genetic structure.
Oh, thank you, Ashish. Aditya, okay,
Yes, sir.
do you think there is a difference in pattern of replication? Yes, Ashish has addressed very clearly, but what is the basic difference of chance of mutation in these RNA and DNA viruses?
Sir, basically mutation is acquiring genetic changes. So the virus acquires genetic changes, which is known as mutation. RNA viruses have a higher mutation rate than a DNA mutation rate. Okay. Now, first of all, we have to understand that what happens to these viruses. There's an antigenic drift and an antigenic shift. Two entities exist. So our COVID-2 virus is the one who undergoes antigenic drift. That is, the virus replicates its genomic copies and mutations occur there like copying errors.
Right.
Kuch antibodies, kuch parts they will change, some will remain the same, but they happen very rapidly. So we can find many mutations, but they are not very much, they don't alter the whole scenario in a very big way. Whereas, like the influenza virus, the H1N1 virus, they undergo antigenic shift. The virus completely and abruptly changes,
Right.
and the virus and it happens very less frequently. So, antigenic drift happens more frequently. So we are worried about COVID-2 virus more.
Right. So if I understand, sudden shift of this major genomic sequence leads because of shift phenomenon, and then slow changes and minute changes, small changes leads to drift phenomenon. This happens in all viruses, predominantly. Okay, what SARS-CoV-2 is undergoing is it's a majorly it's a drift phenomenon. So, thank you, Dr. Aditya, for this explanation. Giri, may I pull you here to explain? Do you think, do I need to, worry, or do we, public, needs to worry about all these variants? Aditya has explained about, 10 variants, alpha to epsilon, zeta. I never heard about those Greek words. Okay. So how many more we may need to expect? We don't know, but at least as of now, it is 10 variants. And do we need to worry about these variants? And then how dangerous they are?
Yes, sir. First of all, I want to thank Dr. N.H. Krishna, sir, for this wonderful webinar, and Dr. Vijay, sir, to you also, and my dear friends, colleagues, and the beautiful audience who are hearing this. And I'll come to the topic now. Sir, as you said, the 10 variants. Yes. Till now, I guess the named variants are 10, I guess. And there are other variants are also present which are unnamed. We call it as a variants of interest. Okay. Now they are named which are variants of interest. So now we have to, your question is very simple, that which is asked, a very good question, that whether we have to worry. So till now we have seen that the gamma, delta, the variants which are coming time to time, they're very much harmful if you see the predominant virus, which was earlier, which was existing. So they are harming only. I mean, in their nature, like they are spreading fast, rampant spreading in nature, and very much high infectivity, and severity of the disease is also high, and mortality is also high. And the Bollinger, he has taken all these publications, and he has mentioned in his research article very beautifully that these mutant viruses, as they are going further, they are becoming very much rampant, spreading in their nature, and very much severe in their nature. And he also mentions that if a person infects in a day and he dies on the next day, the chain also breaks. He quotes that also. But one final statement what Bollinger makes is that these COVID mutants, definitely they are dangerous as they are mutating as they go further. This is what the take-home point I can say about these mutants.
So, if I understand, so as Dr. Giri rightly said, many of these variants, they can potentially be harmful. So, as of now, whatever we call variants of concern, alpha, beta, delta, gamma, they are all highly dangerous in terms of virulence, in terms of infectivity, in terms of public health importance. Rest are all named as variants of interest, and these are, yes, they also can keep on mutate. They can potentially transform into a more dangerous variant, and that's what I understand. And I also, Dr. Giri has rightly mentioned, if the virus virulence is more, and the chance of that variant sustaining in the community is very, very less. So it cannot exist. So that's why the chance of this virus spreading into or transforming into pandemic is very less. That's why they are smart enough to modulate their genes so that they will harm individuals, humanity, and they can also sustain in the environment. Beautiful explanation, Dr. Giri.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Jayaprakash sir, very good evening. So, what is the difference between variants of interest and variants of concern scientifically, and how do you define a variant?
Thank you, Dr. Vijaykumar sir, for beautifully moderating this webinar and inviting us to the seminar. My special thanks to the CCI, Dr. Krishna, Dr. Ravi Deshi, and Narayana Pradima. So the question you asked is about what is a variant first. Now, virus, they have a property of multiplying and make their copies, multiple copies. So when these multiple copies are made, sometimes there can be little bit changes occurs in few of the copies. That is what is called a mutation. So when there is one or more mutations are happening in a virus, that is called a variant of the original virus. Okay. So actually mutation is actually a natural process in the virus multiplication. And that actually when there is a sequence, there is a genetic or a genome change in the sequence of that virus, that is called a variant of that particular virus. A variant is actually a strain when it demonstrates a different phenotypic feature, like it may be genetically, it is different in the antigenic properties. It may be different in its transmission properties, like they may be fastly transmitting, or it may be different in the virulence, or it may behave in property which is totally different from the mother virus in terms of response and no, the
Behavior.
behavior and severity. So that is actually a variant of the virus.
Sir. And how to differentiate between variant of interest and variant of concern is
Okay.
yeah.
Actually, as we discussed, COVID-19 virus is is described as a Dashamukha, and it has actually 4 variant of concern and 6 variant of interest in short. Actually, the difference between a variant of concern and variant of interest actually differs because of its properties. When the transmissibility is actually increased and the virulence is increased, when there is a significant reduction in the neutralization by antibodies and the ability to evade a detection, if the test is actually improperly detected, and there is a difference in the therapeutic response, and probably there may be a reduction in the response to the vaccination, and probably an increase in the fatality, then we have to be concerned about that virus variant. So that is actually variant of concern, and we have predominantly 4 alpha, beta, delta, and this actually coming under our variant of concern. But a variant of interest, when just there is an increase in transmissibility, there is some diagnostic difficulty, some immune escape, and probably little increase in the severity, but there is no much difference in the mortality, or not increase in the mortality, and then it's only actually an interest, but not a very concern. So that's the basic difference between a concerned type variant and a interest variant.
Right, sir. So, Rupesh, sir,
Yes.
Dr. Jayaprakash has covered, very beautifully. Is there any way that, we exactly define that variants of concern?
Sir, first of all, I say thank you to you for calling me Dr. Vijay and CCI platform who give the opportunity to talk on this topic today in the evening. So I'm thankful to all of you for giving this opportunity to me. And certainly you
It's
asked.
a pleasure to have you, sir.
Yes,
It's very pleasure to
you
have
asked me about the variant of concern. How? So, as rightly said by Dr. Jayaprakash, the variant of concern is that the virus who have a property of fast transmissibility, high level of infectivity, leading to frequent hospitalization and even to the death of the person who get infected with this virus, and they escape even the treatment modalities if they decrease the response to the neutralizing antibodies which is available for the treatment, but even they are not responding to this, and they shows this escape phenomenon. The virus who have this characteristic in them are the variant of concern to the society. And certainly there are 4 viruses named alpha, beta, delta plus variant are the variant of concern for the society. And
Alpha, beta, delta, and gamma. If I'm correct.
gamma also, yes, sorry, gamma.
Yes.
These are the viruses which are concerned to the society, and virus who has got virus of interest, the virus which shows the change in
Let
their
me ask that question to our good friend Dr. Ashish. He is eagerly waiting. He is in fact, our opening batsman. He's again, waiting for his turn. Thank you, sir. So, if I understand what is variant of concern, so variant of concern, just to repeat, the chance of this virus being in its transmissibility is very high, and the chance of this variant, okay, we call this as a variant of concern only when there is a chance of more severe disease, which results in more amount of hospitalizations, more amount of mortality, and more amount of morbidity. And it also, okay, if I am correct, if I'm correct, significant reduction in neutralization by antibodies generated during previous infections or vaccinations. That means, okay, there is a escape phenomenon from this new variant of concern. Okay, previous immunity, whatever the patient has acquired, or whatever the public has acquired what we call it as herd immunity may not be suitable enough to combat this virus. And always there's also a threat to vaccine failure and also diagnostic detection failures. These all, if all these features are met, then we call it as a variant of concern. And let me ask Dr. Ashish Jain here to elaborate on variants of interest.
So thank you, Dr. Vijay. Variant of interest are the variants who has a specific genetic sequence which has been associated with increase into the receptor binding. There is increased transmissibility. There is reduction in neutralization by the antibodies which has been acquired by either vaccination or by previous infections, as well as there is defect in the detection of these viruses. So these are the properties of virus variants of variants of interest. There's one more important thing associated with them, that there should be association of increase in the cases in a particular community by this variant, and there should be evidence for the association of these rise in cases with the variant. And we know that there are 6 variants which are variant of interest. As we know, that is eta, iota, zeta, and kappa, and epsilon, and theta. But let me tell you, very recently on 26th of June, one virus, that is Delta Plus, is also kept in the category of variant of interest in India. We find only 22 cases in India just now. So the number is less, that's why it is kept in variant of interest. But if number rises, it can be shifted to variant of concern.
So can you please elaborate more on Delta Plus?
Delta Plus is a variant, Delta, if we can, we say it is B1.617.1, and Delta Plus is a variant of Delta. There is mutation in AY1 and AY2, and it is found that it is more transmissible and it has less susceptibility towards the monoclonal antibodies, as well as it has less efficacy susceptibility. It is less, has more you can say resistant towards the antibodies which is acquired by the patient.
So if I understand, this particular mutant, which we call it as a Delta Plus, as a triple mutant, so this can potentially become a next variant with the pandemic proportion.
Yes,
That's what I understand. And the chance of failure of monoclonal antibodies with this variant, though it is as of now less in number, if the number increase, probably we may expect next spikes soon. Thank you, Ashish. So looking at, I call upon now Dr. Aditya. What is this variant of high consequence? So I was trying to look at the literature. Very minimal data was available. Please throw some light on this.
Yes, sir. So, as Dr. Jayaprakash and Dr. Ashish have already elaborated on variant of concern and variant of interest, VOHC, variant of high consequence, is a variant which is more dangerous. It is much more transmissible, and the medicines and the vaccines which were already effective on the previous variants, they don't work on this.
Right.
This is the variant of high consequence in very simple words. Now, what all leads to this variant, or the rise of variant of high consequence? So, the failure of diagnostics, significantly reduction in the vaccine effectiveness, significantly reduced susceptibility to the multiple approved therapeutics. The medicines that are coming into the market, it is not susceptible to that, and more severe clinical disease and increased hospitalizations are the ones who are leading to rise of variants of high consequence. But in USA, where genomic sequencing is being done frequently, no variant of high consequence has been isolated till now. So it's nothing to worry about till now, only till now. You never know when it rises.
yes.
So excellent. Thank you, Dr. Aditya.
Thank you, sir.
So, Giriraj,
Yes,
so
sir.
do you think once a variant is labeled as VOI or VOC, so I think, Dr. Aditya has discussed this, but, to make it more clear, its virulence and other characteristics will remain unchanged forever? If not, what does the ICMR or WHO do to track these newer mutations?
Sir, they have formed a tabular this thing. As you said, they have made it very clear. First of all, the headings only they have done it, like variants of the concern and variants of the interest. They have clear cut. They have made a definitions for that and definitions for this, and very much clear cut tables have been formed, sir. And they have categorized the variants of the concern under one table and this variants of the interest under the one table. And
Yeah.
those who are falling under the variants of the concern, till now, the vaccine efficacy at certain this thing, it is working, sir. So
Yeah.
they're taking a lot more care about this population. And variants of interest, okay, still under the research gate, and it is under the evolving topic, we can say, sir. And most of the things are covered, I guess, sir. And I think this is what to say. So the WHO and ICMR still is not labeling it, I can say. This is it's a open gate, sir.
Aditya, can you please add something here
Yes, sir.
to make it a complete one?
Yes, sir. So I would like to add that these labels, they won't remain forever. These are bound to change because mutation is a constant thing that is going to happen. Change is constant. That is going to happen. So mutation is going to occur. So these labels are also going to change. And they are going to be tracked by genomic sequencing. Now in Delhi, also 2 genomic sequencing labs have been set up by the government.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you. So, if I am correct, okay, what I understand is, so these variant of interest or variant of concern is not only, this is a dynamic thing. As of now, the WHO labeled it into variants of concern and variant of interest. Even the variant of interest, which is now currently, we are not giving, too much significance to their presence. They have a potential if they get mutated, and because the virus mutations are dynamic, they can change overnight into a variant of, even huge consequence as well. So that's why we should be constantly tracking all these variants, and we will be looking forward for these sudden mutations. If at all, if they happen, probably they can manifest into a one more pandemic potential.
Jaykumar
Thank
sir,
you.
even our Delta virus, which was identified in December 2020 in India,
Yes, sir.
initially it was a virus of only interest.
Yes, sir.
Now it has actually spread into different countries, and now it is become actually a
Virus of
Yes, sir.
yeah.
concern.
And
Variant
also,
of
Brilliant input, sir. I totally agree with you.
also
Yes.
Delta Plus has been labeled as international variant of concern. Still not in India, but it has been labeled as international variant of concern.
Yes.
So labeling is difficult, sir. Labeling is difficult.
So, and Jayprakash, sir, so please, please throw some light on this Delta Plus variant and its significance as well, sir.
Okay. Actually, already we discussed Delta Plus. Actually, Delta virus, which happened in India, detected in India, the number like B11672. Actually, it has 3 subvariants: AY1, AY2, and AY3. Actually, this Delta Plus is basically a Y1 subvariant of Delta virus. And it happened because of the sublineage of the Delta variant. Actually, that happens because of that variation. It has properties which are something similar to the beta variant coronavirus.
Mhm.
And beta, it is actually mimicking the properties almost similar to the beta variant coronavirus.
Yes, sir.
And the peculiarity of this Delta Plus from Delta is this is little more transmissible. The transmission rate is little high, and this Delta Plus virus has a more affinity to attach with the ACE receptors, so that may involve more lung involvement compared to the other viruses. Probably subsequent to that, the detection rate also, the test detection will be less when you take a swab from the upper respiratory or from the throat. That is also another possibility. And this Delta plus virus has happened in India, only few cases report. And there is few cases actually detected in an area in Maharashtra. That time we were totally worried. We thought that this is going to be a boom. There will be a cluster formation. There will be more death. But surprisingly, in that area, the Delta plus didn't make much difference in the number of patients spreading, fast spreading. And the
Yes.
mortality was also not much varied. So even though Delta plus is giving a concern to India and to the people, our practical experience from Bombay says it's not a very dangerous in that area particular. So that is one thing I want to add.
Why do you think it does not cause so much of mortality in contrast to what we expected, sir? Do you think herd immunity has set in this population, in particularly in Maharashtra?
So actually, I think in Maharashtra, a larger percent of people already had COVID infection. They must be having more or less sufficient antibodies in their bloodstream,
Right.
and vaccination also happened there. So probably we have to think that even the Delta or Delta plus variant, if you concentrate on vaccination properly, I think it's not a very big concern
Right.
in India. Yeah, sir.
Thank you, sir. So, if I understand, so like this, Delta plus is a very potentially, a different threat to the country and then globally as well. But having said this, the way it behaved so far, okay, is giving a clue that herd immunity probably is playing a role, at least in some group of populations in India, so that it has not showing any significant impact in outcomes, particularly morbidity and mortality.
Correct, sir.
So, may I call upon Dr. Rupesh, sir? Here, how do you identify these COVID variants? Yes, we discussed that genomic sequencing plays a major role in identifying these variants. I don't think we in India the required amount of genomic sequencing is happening, or monitoring is happening from the country, and how to identify these variants and how to report this. And RT-PCR, which takes generally just few hours to report in our routine laboratories, but how long it will take a variant to identify? Can you please throw some wisdom on this?
As I rightly said, that to pick up the variant, the genomic sequence is very important to know the type of variant, what sequence is reading. So, genomic sequencing should be the test to pick up the variants. It is only one, and it takes 6 to 7 days to come to know the genomic sequence of a virus, and they are meant for diagnosing the virus, pandemics or epidemics in the particular area. So for every patient, you should not go for the genomic sequence. The RT-PCR test is the test available to pick up the coronavirus disease, and it takes 6 to 8 hours to pick up the virus. And a rapid antigen test is one more test which give an answer to you for the picking the virus, but that doesn't tell you about the variants of the virus. So certainly to know about the variant, what type of variant is prevalent in the particular area, the genomic sequencing is one method, and whole genomic sequencing is another second method, which is available to know the variant. But to pick up the virus, RT-PCR certainly give a 100% accurate test, and rapid antigen test give you the early reports, and you know about the virus.
Sensitivity and specificity of these, tests are, limited. So,
Yes.
but I think more amount of genomic sequencing on more amount of samples is much needed as of today, because the amount of cases that we are seeing, okay, and what the government is publishing, some data on Delta plus variant is not clear-cutly matching. So more amount of labs required in this subcontinent to establish on a rapid scale what variants are existing in the community. Thank you, sir. So, Ashish, what are the measures to control and curtail the spread of these various variants? Is that
So,
the same thing, or is there any specific methods that we need to look into?
these variants spread similarly as the original COVID virus. So the basic of COVID appropriate behavior like wearing the mask, maintaining the social distancing, avoiding the crowded places,
So you
and
mean more about
sanitization.
the COVID appropriate behavior.
Yes, it
Yeah.
should be emphasized. Getting vaccinated also reduces the spread of virus and the variant in the community. And we know that many of the variants has more transmissibility. That means they spread very easily between the community. So it is very important for the people to follow these COVID appropriate behavior to reduce the spread of this COVID virus in the community.
So strict
Strict protocol should be
follow
followed.
of, this COVID appropriate behavior, and
Yes.
though government is looking for lucrative income by starting up this multiplexes, pubs, and etc., we
Yeah.
must refrain from attending these places.
Exactly.
That's what you mean. Okay. So let me start by asking an interesting question here to Giriraj. What are the vaccine efficacy for these variants? I've seen few patients, Giri, dying after 2 doses of vaccination as well. What's your take on the efficacy of these vaccines? And is there any vaccine escape mechanisms happening? And I
Okay,
will
sir.
rotate this question to all the panelists. I'm looking forward all your inputs. Let me ask Giri first.
Okay, sir. I think it's $1 million question, sir. Okay, everybody is asking the same question. So I want to take.
Honestly, so
Yes, sir.
I'm sure all of us have witnessed people who have taken 2 vaccines after a month or 2 months as well. We have lost them. So,
Yes, sir.
but on the contrary, what is circulating in the social media is do shots le lo, and you are bindas. There is nothing is going to happen. At least you will be saved from reaching intensive care unit. That's what is myth happening. Please go ahead.
Yes. Yes, sir. Sir, I'll take some time here.
Yeah.
The vaccines now which are present in India, that is Covishield vaccine or Covaxin, Sputnik, which are there. The Covishield vaccine, which we have seen till now, that is very much effective against till Delta variant. It
Yeah.
is seen. It is seen till Delta variant. Delta plus, it is not yet seen, sir.
Yeah.
And the vaccine, that is Covishield, it is in Delta. And as already Ashish Jain sir told, only we should not completely rely on our vaccine, sir. आपने जैसे कहा 2 vaccine shots we have to take and we have to completely rely on that. No. COVID appropriate behavior is again a gold standard, sir, that we need to follow. And many of the times we are seeing the long queue near the vaccination center. The people are going there and they are taking the COVID from there and they are telling we took the vaccine and we have got the COVID. No, it's not like that. So these are all things are happening, the myths that is from the vaccine. So definitely the COVID vaccine till now it is giving efficacy towards the Delta variant. So it has given an effect. And the second thing is, yes, as sir told, those who have taken the 2 doses of vaccine, even if the COVID is positive, they have not gone to severe illness. The morbidity is less. They may be COVID positive, but they are not critically ill. Means mortality is less. So this is my message that everybody should go for 2 COVID vaccines, and yes, appropriate COVID behavior that has to be followed. Only on vaccine, we should not completely rely on that.
Aditya,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Sir, in my experience, sir, I have seen over 1,000 cases in this COVID wave. We could identify patients who were contracting COVID for the second time, even after being affected in 2020.
Yeah.
Second, patients were coming out to be positive after first dose of vaccine. Then, second dose also, they were coming out to be positive. And this is where the breakthrough infections are born. The government is claiming that Covaxin and Covishield is having 95% of effectiveness. Still, we lost a national famed doctor, Dr. K.K. Agarwal, who
Yeah.
was already fully vaccinated. Even we lost two doctors in our own hospital. One was a surgeon, one was an oncologist. Even after full vaccination, we were vaccinated from the starting of the year. So there's no guarantee after getting the vaccine that you will be saved. But yeah, mask, and only mask and social distancing, the COVID appropriate behavior is going to save you. Vaccine will save you or not, I don't know, but appropriate behavior is going to save you.
Right. Thank you. Right. So Jayaprakash sir, please, your inputs on this.
Actually, I agree with Aditya and Giriraj, but no, mask and COVID appropriate behavior has to be there. But the real question is whether after taking 2 adequate doses of vaccine after 2 weeks or 1 month, are you safe? Nobody is claiming 100% protection from vaccine. And after the development of COVID variant, which is globally occurring, there is a chance that if at all there is a few patients or doctors or people have died after taking vaccination, don't underestimate vaccine. That's my number one point. It has 90 to 95 protection. You have to emphasize on the vaccination, number one. There may be 5% that is actually described in the literature in the vaccine protocol itself. There is 5% non-protected because of different mechanisms. Maybe if you take vaccine, myself and Dr. Aditya, the antibody production will be different in my body and his body. That will be different. I may be totally protected. I may not get infected again, even if I miss some mask and all. But he may be infected even if he make little difference in the.
We can say, sir, कि 5 उंगलियां एक बराबर नहीं होती, sir. All fingers are different.
Other important thing is, the other common habit of, consuming alcohol. That also decreases the efficacy of vaccine.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Rupesh, please, comments on
Yes.
this. A critical question.
We have seen a lot of patients, those who receive the 1 doses, after that they get the COVID positive. After 2 doses of the vaccine, they get COVID positive.
Yeah.
Certainly, the vaccine doesn't provide you 100% protection, and COVID appropriate behavior is only one way by which you can prevent yourself. But why this happened after getting these 2 doses of vaccine? Certainly, there are 5 to 7% of the people that doesn't develop the sensitize their immune system with these 2 doses of the vaccine, and the old age people and those who are doing very comorbidities like diabetes or any chronic disease, or those who are immunosuppressant, they are not going to develop the sufficient level of the antibodies or immunoprotection after the 2 doses of the vaccine, and they are at the risk of getting the reinfection. So we can say it is the reinfection or prone to get infection even after the 2 doses of the vaccine. So how to prevent yourself and ourselves? Just it is the COVID appropriate behavior is one key in your hand, and certainly the vaccine give little bit of psychological protection to you. We are
Yes, perfect.
In fact, on the other flip of it is making people more confident, and then after getting second dose, within a week time they are turning positive. That means they feel that they are superheroes.
Yes.
And they are immune to COVID, and then they follow this COVID appropriate behavior with less stringent protocols, and they are getting the virus.
Right.
So Ashish, please quickly wrap up this question with your comments.
So I am totally agree with all the eminent panelists here related to the your question that some of the patient dies even after getting to COVID vaccine with appropriate antibody development. So I would like to emphasize here that the answer lies this question is the word efficacy. The efficacy means that the vaccine ability to reduce the risk of getting infection. It doesn't mean you have the vaccine and you are 100% immunized for the virus. And second is, what is immune escape? So if you allow me to throw some light on the immune escape.
Please go ahead.
So what happened, we know that this COVID virus has to bind to the host cell with the help of a ACE receptor, and spike protein bind to the ACE receptor. In the spike protein of COVID virus, there are certain receptor binding sites which are made up of amino acids, and these amino acids had some certain structures. The antibodies which is in the patient's serum, they recognize these receptor binding sites and they bind to the virus and they neutralize it.
Right.
Especially two points I would like to emphasize here. That is a point 417 and point 484. These are the two very important receptor binding sites. So if mutation occurs which involve the genetic sequence which affect the amino acid binding on these two sites, there will be a new amino acid after mutation, and antibody cannot recognize this new amino acid, so it will not bind to the virus, and that's why the virus is escaped from the antibody which is there in the body. So this is how it works.
Thank you, Ashish. Very, lucid explanation. So, for the question, 2 doses of vaccination also cannot protect sometimes.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to conclude here. Few of physicians who were successfully vaccinated as well, we lost them. And that's why vaccine may not be the only way of protection. What is important is COVID appropriate behavior. And again, yes, to re-emphasize, do not underestimate vaccination. But the loopholes are 2 important things. Those whose immunity level is very bare minimum, they cannot get good amount of antibodies and T cell response. They may succumb to the virus despite vaccination. So please be aware. If your immunity is at stake, please be cautious and then follow COVID appropriate behavior strictly and do not rely completely on vaccination. Having said this, it is like, creating a duplicate key kind of thing for entry into the virus, entry of virus into the body. So immune escape phenomenon also plays a very crucial role in entry of virus into the body and creating havoc. So these are the key points which I would like to conclude here for the above said question. Right. So may I call upon Dr. Jayaprakash sir. Mr. Bharat, who got infected with COVID in first wave, and in second wave, he again got infected twice. What's this? How long this will happen? And when we can say that he is immune to COVID? Is there any way that we are seeing that he, despite maybe, getting 3 times in his history, when we can label that he will be immune to COVID?
Okay. So actually, that particular patient, I would like to approach in such a way that when he is infected in first wave and again second wave, there are 2 possibilities. Either he is reinfected with the same COVID virus which he was infected earlier, or there could be a new variant, which is a less possibility. And because of the first infection he had in 2020 or in the first wave, he must have developed some antibodies because of the first infection. So the second reinfection is maybe because of his improper, COVID, COVID behavior, and he is again infected because of the antibodies. There is a chance that he will be mild symptomatic and without going with much problems. And especially if he has received vaccines also, whether it is 1 dose or 2 dose, because of that vaccine added antibodies and the first infection, there is just a documented second infection, he will pass on the event without any problem. The second possibility, he is infected with a COVID variant. There is the chance there also, because of the first infection, he must be having some antibodies, and he is immunized to, again, the variant also to the present status, the possibility is actually escaping without much problem is there. So that is the possibility in that particular patient. And the second part of the question, how long he can infect? I think till the either herd immunity or a good vaccination which seizes the COVID problem globally or nationally, I think he can repeatedly infect, which nothing is preventing him from infecting again. But maybe like a just viral influenza infection, he is getting a mild fever and the event is going on. And when he will be totally immune, he has to get a adequate antibiotics or and or a vaccine which would control or help to give the immunity against almost all the variants which are already present and which are going to be coming. So in that situation, he will be totally protected.
So, brilliant response, sir. Aditya, I think you have brought this point in your presentation. The vaccine, which is is under trials from Bangalore. Can you please throw
Yes,
some
sir.
light there?
Sir, this is
Hello?
the heat-resistant variant that is a warm vaccine,
Mhm.
and it is stable at 100 degrees Celsius also till around 90 hours, and
Mm.
it was stable at 37 degrees Celsius for around 2 to 3 months. In
Right.
Bangalore, it was made, and it was effective in all the four variants of SARS-CoV-2. That are the variants of concern.
So,
So that is one
Good.
ray of hope. Maybe it is manufactured more, but it has been done in only hamsters and mice. So still, it is a long way to go.
okay. So, if I understand, there is a Talaivar dialogue in Telugu. That means Talaivar means Rajnikant. Okay. What
Right.
Rajnikant says is, నాకు తెలిసింది కొంత తెలియాల్సింది కొండంత. That means whatever I know and COVID is very little, minuscule. What we need to learn a lot is it's humongous, huge, is going to unravel. So that's what I feel. And Rupesh sir, can you please comment on the same question? How long this will happen, and then when we can say that he may be possibly immune to COVID? Any patient who is
Yes.
getting recurrent infections.
In this present example, first wave he got infected with the COVID virus.
Yeah.
After some time he got second wave, again he got a COVID infection. There are two possibilities. Initially he got a infection with some other variant, and second time he got a infection with some other variant. So the COVID specific antibody by natural infection protect with the one variant, and it is not providing adequate efficacy in second time of infection. है ना? So how he got 2 times infected? This is one explanation. Another explanation is that the person is initially getting the infection but doesn't have a viral clearance, but it goes to the very low level of the say, concentration in the body and suppress all the symptomatology of the infection, which by decreasing the immunity again reactivated in, and this is the second time when he got a positive, because we have not done the genomic sequence in first infection and even after the second infection. So you are not able to know the which variant initially infect and what second time he got infected. This is the explanation for the reinfection in second time. So means the inadequate immune response is responsible for second infection. And this is the explanation for second reinfection. But how we can say he get rid of the immunized against the COVID? So when we detect the antibodies in the serum of the patient, the antibiotic detection concentration of the neutralizing antibody in the person is one way to know the immune status and say him to be fully immune to the COVID virus. So what we can do, we go for the immune antibody assay in the person to say fully immunized for the COVID. But this can possible after the 3 to 6 weeks of first or second infection in the person. So antibody assay is the method by which we can pick up the person is now immunized with the COVID virus.
So, if I understand, okay, one important way that the patients are getting reinfected is maybe because of different COVID variants. Or the second important thing is maybe the immunity gets, weaned off, decreased in these individuals so that the persons are contracting again and again the virus. That's what I understand here. And one way of, measuring the antibody response is measuring the neutralizing antibodies. And if we test it and if they are adequate, probably we can say that to some extent, to the existing variants, we are immune. But that doesn't say that we are immune to all the variants available
Yes,
in
sir.
nature.
Sir, I just want to add here, sir. Yes.
Please, Giri, please go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, I had one patient, sir, like first wave, he had a infection and he had like a severe infection, sir. Afterwards, like again in the second wave, and after that he had first dose of vaccination. And in the second wave, again he got reinfection, sir. That time what we did is we measured his antibodies. Antibodies levels were showing, according to the lab parameters, it was around 90. Antibodies were 90, and he was this time COVID positive.
What
And
was
he
the
had a
cutoff?
myalgia. He had a myalgia and headache. Symptomatically, mild symptomatically, he was positive, sir. And
Yeah.
we got his RT-PCR and it was positive.
Right.
What we did is, this was a very clear-cut case. We could not do the genomic sequencing, but we observed this case, sir. We isolated, we did the quarantine for this patient. We observed this patient. We gave him the very mild symptomatic treatment for this patient. He had just mild fever for the 5 days. We were prepared to give entire treatment for this patient, but the patient recovered like without any major treatment second time. What we can see here is very, as sir said, Modi sir said, like second time, definitely the antibodies has helped. And the second time he might have infected with the COVID variant. But
Right.
the antibodies which are present in his body definitely have helped him not to go to the severe disease.
Right.
Yeah, this is one of the classical example we had, but unfortunately we could not get the genomic sequencing for this patient, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Giri, for that input.
Yeah.
Here,
Thanks.
Aditya,
Yes, sir.
could a new variant affect kids more frequently than earlier strain? Any, evidence so far in this?
Sir, this is a very frequent question that is being asked by the families who are coming after getting COVID positive.
Yeah.
Recent sero survey which were done in the country, they revealed that 60% of the children are already sero positive. So chances of them getting infection is less, moreover, because these children are already having antibodies in them.
Right.
Second thing, they are having less ACE receptors. So the chances of virus binding to the ACE receptors are less. Maybe that is why the government has also thought of opening the schools till 9th class and may take chances of
Of reducing population in adults.
yes. but in any case, major chunk of
I'm
these
sorry for
variants
that.
are safe.
Yeah. True.
Still WHO and ICMR is closely monitoring in association with the NIV and CDC. Sir.
Right. Thank you. And Ashish,
Sir.
will there be more new variants, and do you see an end to this game of evolution of COVID?
Yes, there will be more mutations and more variant till the time virus is replicating and spreading in the community. So till the time we are not following.
I don't know how many Greek alphabets together.
It will end very
only
soon.
10. Maybe it will fill up entire.
Exactly. So to reduce the occurrence of new mutation, we have to stop the transmission of this virus in the community, and that can happen only after following very strictly COVID appropriate behavior as well as getting vaccinated. So these are the only two methods by which we can stop the further transmission of virus in the community and can further stop further mutations also.
Rupesh sir, are there any additional COVID-19 precautions for these new variants?
As such, there is
Anything,
no-
something that I need to do different so that I can protect myself and my kids and people?
now there is no new ways to adopt COVID appropriate behavior, social distancing, mask, hand sanitization, avoid the crowding places, get vaccinated as soon as early. 2 doses of vaccine should be taken, and avoid the crowding places. As you go to the crowding places, just wear the mask. All these are there is no other way, but certainly sanitary hygiene is also very important in new variant. because the GI infections and other body system involvement is very prominent in the variant Delta plus variant. So wearing the mask and COVID appropriate behavior along with household hand sanitary habits should be proper, well sanitized before using any other person in order to prevent the cross infection from the people.
Aditya, please add, what is the significance of double masking? We are hearing, a lot of double masking these days. Do these companies are promoting this to sell their masks more in number? Or, is it really,
It was elaborated by Dr. Randeep Guleria in his video when this mask video came out. First of all, the most important message should go, mask should be wear. मास्क जरूर पहनना है, चाहे पहला मास्क पहनो, दूसरा मास्क पहनो, डबल पहनो, सिंगल पहनो, मगर मास्क चाहिए. बिना मास्क के आप भीड़ में मत जाओ, बिना मास्क के आप कहीं मत जाओ, घर से बाहर नहीं निकलना.
Not a politician mask like this, right? That's important. No,
but you have to have a barrier in front of your mouth,
Yes.
and so that you don't spread that infection to others. Second thing, the double mask is only essential for the persons who are working in COVID atmosphere. Like we people were working in COVID atmosphere, so we can wear N95 and over that a surgical mask as an added advantage.
Right.
Rest surgical mask, the 3-ply mask is effective and enough for the general public, but they should at least wear that. This cloth covering does not help. So that important message should go across the public.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditya. Jay Prakash, sir, what do you think that with the occurrence of new variants, the role of Remdesivir? I know Remdesivir is almost, at one point of time was out of stock. Each vial was, purchased for 50,000, 60,000 rupees each vial. And now WHO claiming that, and ICM are also claiming that, it's of no use. Please put your Remdesivir in dustbin. Okay. What do you think, with this new variants, what is your take here?
Sir, as you rightly said, Remdesivir was, when it came as a magic bullet for COVID. But later on, there are different documented studies saying that some studies which are for, and majority of the good studies, including the Solidarity trial and ACT trial, document that, and WHO also, CDC also stressed that Remdesivir is not a magic bullet or a very big, treatment protocol for COVID, but our practice. So we have to learn from our experience. Our experience, I think majority, all of the panelists, respective panelists also will agree with that. Remdesivir has a role in patients who are progressing to severe disease if you give it in the adequate time. So the timing is important, and it has an effect. That whatever WHO CDC say, I think I will not agree. My personal opinion, it has an effect when you give in the adequate time. In that background, I say COVID variant has a adaptive mutation which happened due to the viral genomic change. In that background, where does the Remdesivir work? It works in the preventing the multiplication of the virus in the early phase. So if it works in the original virus, I think the Remdesivir should work in the variant also in a minimal manner. But to emphasize that, I would say there is no documented study saying that Remdesivir is good for the variant or bad for the variant. So the consensus, I think my personal opinion is we should continue giving Remdesivir in selected patient in the proper timing if there is a chance for progression to the severity.
Fantastic clarity you have given, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And currently the magic wand in the hands of pulmonologists is the cocktail regimen of monoclonal antibodies. What's their role in this confusing situations? How far they will be effective? Dr. Rupesh, please add it.
Sir, thank you, sir. First of all, I continue with the Dr. Jayaprakash for Remdesivir. The early institution of Remdesivir in a patient of COVID is certainly give a magic response because it is a virostatic drug. So it certainly reduces the viral replication when we use in at proper time in proper dosing, in continuation, not intermittent fashion ki aaj ek laga diya, kal dena, कल परसों गैप करके आगे दे दिया, ऐसा नहीं. In continuation, if you use at proper time, early institution of remdesivir is a winning shot to the person to prevent in a severe state of the COVID.
Agree, 100% agrees. Agree, Rupesh.
But
bhai.
along with the remdesivir, if you can use this cocktail monoclonal antibodies, is certainly a chance in a hand, but they are effective in a mild to moderate. As per guidelines, they are available for the mild to moderate cases, not suitable for the severe cases. Yes, okay, they are the immunoglobulins against the COVID virus, and when you use on a proper time, 48 hours to 72 hours of getting the disease, or less than 7 days of getting the infection, they are effective. But certainly, this shows little less response in the variant which is our available variant of concern, or the variant of interest like Delta Plus. So the monoclonal antibodies are the winning shot in a pulmonologist's hand, but they are effective in mild to moderate cases. And when you use it right time, at 48 hours of the getting the infection, or up to extend up to 72 hours. As you use late, the efficacy wise, you will not get the effect of monoclonal antibodies in a person
Yes.
infected with the COVID.
Dr. Ashish, okay, what is your take on this? Do you think, all variants will be susceptible for the existing, so-called CMAB, IMAB, BMAB, okay, very, tongue twisting
Interesting names for
name.
them.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah. So my message here is related to monoclonal antibodies, that we know that the variant of concerns has less effectivity or susceptibility towards the monoclonal antibodies.
Yeah.
And that is there because of the mutation in the spike protein, particularly 417 and 485 and 542. And there are so many of the mutations are there which affect the binding of antibodies to the virion particles. So there are 3 types of cocktails available in the world. In US, we have 3 combinations, but in India, we have only 1 combination, that is caricimab and imdivimab. And if we know that my patient is suffering from this particular variant, who is resistant, who is showing some less susceptibility to caricimab plus imdivimab combination, we can use other combination. So one thing
Yes.
is there that we can utilize all 3 combinations. If my patient is resistant or showing less susceptibility to one, we can use either next 2. Second, definitely should be used as early as possible in first 72 hours in mild to moderate cases. And we should be very cautious in using them as soon as, because we should not get late in using these drugs.
Yes.
As far as remdesivir or any other, even 2DG is concerned, we should use it as early as possible, because most of these drugs are working as an antiviral agent. It decreases the replication of virus in the body. So late means you have lost
To
the battle.
conclude, monoclonal antibodies, if we want to give, if we have to administer them in the very early phase, preferably less than 3 days of starting of illness. That is
Yes.
very, very crucial. Current evidence says that they may not be effective in all the variants of COVID variants which are available in the community. Maybe time has to tell in the coming future that which variant will be more susceptible to which particular monoclonal antibody. Only evidence have to tell. We have to wait and watch for that. Thank you for brilliant insights, Dr. Ashish and Dr. Rupesh. So, Aditya, so what is this vaccine efficacy? What is vaccine effectiveness? Please enlighten us about the breakthrough infections with clarity.
Sir, I already told about the breakthrough infections. These breakthrough infections are the infections that are happening in the patients who are already vaccinated against the same disease. So these are known as breakthrough infections that was happening right now we were talking about. So vaccine effectiveness, it is a measure of how well the vaccine is working in the real world. And it is completely different from vaccine efficacy. Vaccine efficacy is a very, very objective measure, and it is calculated by a fixed formula in a study. So the formula is the attack rate in unvaccinated people minus the attack rate in the vaccinated people divided by attack rate in unvaccinated people. And it is multiplied by 100 to take out the percentage. So the vaccine efficacy is very different than vaccine effectiveness. And vaccine efficacy should be more than 50% to be acceptable and to be used in the population. Covaxin and Covishield are offering 100% effectiveness, but their efficacy is less.
Right. Thank you, Aditya. Here is one important question from Gangtok by Dr. Atan. Is the Covishield vaccine is going to give protection against Delta plus variant? Ashish, please throw some light.
Sir, as such, we don't have any data related to that, but yes, Covishield vaccine has shown giving protection against the Delta variant, though it is less, but yes, it is there, as it is expected to give vaccine protection against the Delta plus also.
Dr. Preeti Shankar commenting, should states having more cases be close to traffic? And again, is this time to, start on lockdown? Will this really going to help? So I take this question and then answer. Thank you, Dr. Preeti Shankar, for asking this question. Yes, definitely. Currently, as of now, the caseloads are, to the minimum only, but the numbers are going up and up. Probably to cut down the inflation or multiplication and spread of the virus, better at least identify selective zones by the government and then should start
Lockdown.
strict lockdown. And Praveen from Bengaluru is asking about, will the third wave will be more severe or less severe? What is your take? Dr. Jayaprakash sir, yes, no one of us are astrologers here, to be frank, but our opinions, your opinions counts here.
Sir, actually, from the knowledge I gathering from different part of India and my personal thinking,
Sir,
I think if you increase the vaccination rate, into a great extent, and we should contain the infection at the root level by COVID appropriate behavior adequately. I think the third wave is not going to be a very big issue. And previously we thought of this, if at all there is a third wave coming, it will infect children more. But the current data from ICMR says that children are not going to be affected in a great manner as we thought earlier. So my personal, this is, if you be strictly confined to the COVID protocol and vaccination rate is also continuing, probably the third wave it will come, it may come, it will not be as dangerous as the second wave.
but when we look at this global trends, sir, Brazil and a few other, African countries are worstly hit by third wave. So there are plenty of children that they lost their life. And scientifically also speaking, I totally agree with Jayaprakash sir, whatever he said. But having said this, scientifically speaking, the 40 to 45% of Indian population are aged below 18 years, and the vaccination percentage that has happened in age less than 18 years is 0%. So when such a huge amount of susceptible population exists in the community or subcontinent, the chance of third wave affecting kids is very, very high. But having said this, it's in as in our Ramayana, if Sita would have not crossed the Lakshmana Rekha, it is impossible for Ravana to take her to Lanka. So like that, so if we keep our servant maids out of home and to keep our children inside home strictly, restricting to the Lakshmana Rekha, the chance of, getting infection to our kids and our children is pretty low. So that's why strict COVID appropriate behavior can abate the third wave significance, and we can flatten the curve successfully. Thank you, sir, for that brilliant input. Next, looking at Dr. Darshana Reddy from Bengaluru is asking about what's the cutoff of antibody levels suggests the protection against the COVID virus. Dr. Giri?
Sir, it's very difficult to say the cutoff value for antibodies, sir. Like some they say around it's like 400, 500, like that they have said, sir. But I have not seen any patient 400, 500 antibodies, sir. Many of the patients we have got done the seroassess for the antibodies, they have not at all crossed 100 or 120 like that, sir. But I have read many articles, they say 400, 500, some 600. That's a good antibodies effect, sir. But I don't think practically anybody has seen 400, 500. I think the eminent panelist, I want to ask, will they can answer this antibodies levels, cutoff levels. Very difficult.
Ashish.
You know,
what is your take on it?
sir, the thing is that the level of antibody depends upon the method by which it is being tested in the lab. So it is different with different method. So there is not a single cutoff value for which we can say this is the cutoff value, because you may be tested by some other method and that the value is different. For taking plasma in a previously COVID affected patient, yes, there is a cutoff we used to take is 615 level, 615. But for immunity, I don't know there is any cutoff level.
Right.
अरे मैं अभी
Thank you, Ashish.
मैं अभी बात नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ।
Anyone wants to add here?
40 mg की टेलमी साल्टर नोन ले ले, बहुत तंग मत करो।
Actually, I agree with Ashish that depending on the lab, the cutoff value will vary. So in Kerala and Trivandrum, we actually we keep above 100 of values a reasonable good level. But to surprise me, last week we had a police officer who had a vaccination 2 doses followed by COVID infection again, and his antibody level is 146. But surprisingly, his X-ray shows bilateral infiltrates. Now he is with some oxygen supplementation and other treatments. So I think it differs from lab to lab, sir.
So, thank you, sir. And here a lot of messages, lot of, appreciation messages for the, in fact, I can see more than, 100 messages to read. Very difficult to read all the messages. Sorry, my dear audience, I may not be calling you each on your name, but thank you for, watching and encouraging us to do more academic events. Your participation is very, very important to make us, do these academic activities with much more interest and enthusiasm. And meanwhile, I would like to, also mention to all the life members of CCI, please do, come out with good amount of literature, articles, case reports, because we are going to launch our CCI official journal. Currently, we are thinking that, the name of the journal is Alveolus, and we are looking forward for, articles on behalf of our CCI life members. And thank you, my dear audience. And Chelamala Setti Manoj Kumar from Andhra Pradesh, Vijayawada. Will booster vaccine decrease the risk of variant infection? And thank you, Chalmal Setti Manoj Kumar, for this brilliant, question. And here I would also, looking forward for inputs from the panelists. Is this right time, to get ourselves, booster vaccination? Of course, ICMR has not, declared any statements on that. Aditya, please quote your opinion.
Sir, still the talks are going on with the government for the introduction of booster vaccine. But till now, the whole population has still not been vaccinated. The vaccination is still going on. But those who had been vaccinated in the starting of the year, they need to get another vaccination done.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Aditya. Dr. Venkatramana from Nizamabad, Telangana. Do we have any, what is the share of each variants in our country? These variants, do you have any data of epidemiological interest? I don't think,
No.
Dr. Venkat, okay, I don't think any, because genomic sequence is a
It's
big,
not.
costly affair. And as of now, it is, very, very difficult, at least in this subcontinent, to define. And then the cost involved in genomic sequences is pretty much high. So I don't think it is there.
It is there. It's
And,
not.
It's not there.
here is Dr. Reena Jaiswal from Dhanbad, Jharkhand. Can a 49-year-old female who has had an anaphylactic shock at the age of 15 years with tetracyclines and is definitely allergic to ibuprofen and is an asthmatic as well, can she take vaccine for COVID? If yes, which one do you suggest? Dr. Ashish?
Yes, because she had allergy to tetracycline very early in the age. Yes, she can take a vaccine, preferably Covaxin, because it is said that it less chances of anaphylactic reaction associated with Covaxin. And the person who is allergic to egg cell or eggs should be avoided to take the vaccines.
So, can they be, monitored while giving vaccine? That's a better
Yes,
answer, I
yes,
believe, Ashish, rather
yes,
than completely avoiding vaccine.
yes.
They have to go to a tertiary care center where
And stay there.
all facilities to resuscitate, and the public should uh, inform the vaccination officer so that this is their history, and please administer vaccine as per standard precautions. It is not a contraindication, it is not an absolute contraindication. They
Yes.
must inform the vaccination officer and get it delivered the vaccine in a tertiary care center rather at a public place,
Public
because
place.
nowadays we are seeing vaccinations are being delivered in shopping malls, multiplexes as well. And how to differentiate between, this is not a question related to, but again, since twice asked, Pratyush Virnala from Guntur is asking how to differentiate between pulmonary mucormycosis, organizing pneumonia, and invasive aspergillosis. Brilliant question, Dr. Pratyush. If you permit, anyone wants to take, or should I answer this question? Yeah, let me answer this question. Okay, Dr. Pratyush. Okay, it is very difficult to differentiate organizing pneumonia and pulmonary mucormycosis and invasive aspergillosis as per the radiological evidence alone. But as per the classical histological markers and then staining patterns, aseptate hyphae broad thick, would favor mucormycosis, whereas invasive aspergillosis multi-septate branched would favor aspergillosis. And cryptogenic organizing pneumonia, radiologically classical pleural based wedge shaped opacities, and sometimes central halo sign will be there. It can be a feature in all of these three differentials which you have provided. Having said this, clinically we have to see how the patient is doing, and then decide. There may be some serological markers which will definitely help us in that is beta 2,3-D glucan assay and the PCR mucorales and galactomannan assay. These are the things which will differentiate in a given patient whether the patient is suffering from invasive fungal infection from mucor or aspergillus, or completely non-infectious issue of cryptogenic organizing pneumonia. And having said this, the entire treatment diagnosis is very, very crucial in these patient population. Once we diagnose, we can, tailor-made the treatment available. And Dr. Amit from Jharkhand asking about, good evening all, excellent webinar so far. My question is about UK, United Kingdom opening without mask and few restrictions. There is no increase in hospital admission. India as well as UK are using Covishield. My question is, why to get more concern? Please answer. Dr. Giri?
So Britain, as per I know, they have reported more cases of Delta variant, sir.
Yeah.
And Covishield, again, it is giving much of the effect to the Delta variants.
Yes.
So I think the people are more liberal for this, I think. So that is why they are roaming like that. But still, I say the COVID appropriate behavior has to be maintained after the 2 doses of COVID vaccinations. They should not be liberal like that. And comparing to the UK, so as discussed in this webinar only, that after the 2 vaccinations also, we cannot rely completely on the vaccination. Appropriate COVID behavior has to be there. It has to be must.
So, Dr. Rupesh, your inputs. Do you agree with Giri?
Certainly, the Covishield is the vaccine, Indian AstraZeneca developed vaccine,
Yeah.
provide the long-term immunity to the body. As the immune system sensitized by vaccine, they initially develop the antibodies, but it gives the memory cell also in the body, plasma cell, which are present inside the bone marrow and lymph nodes. So certainly when you get, again, the variant are infected with the virus, this memory cell give protection against the reinfection or getting the infection of virus. So at a certain level, up to certain level, this Covishield provide you protection against the infection, getting infection with the COVID virus. So while vaccine, after 3 to 4 weeks of second dose of Covishield, you get a sufficient level of memory cell in your body. But detectable antibody may not be there, but the memory cell can provide you the protection against the variant available, and it shows efficacy against all available variant, though it is less with the Delta plus variant and up to certain extent.
So,
And COVID appropriate behavior is certainly required every time.
The very important question, and which is associated with recent publication in the Nature journal. What is the possible duration of current vaccine which can offer protectiveness? Recent literature from the Nature, which I was mentioning, says Covishield can offer protection for lifetime. Your comments, Dr. Jayaprakash?
Sir, actually that data I also read, but I cannot exactly say whether Covishield can give a lifelong protection. I strongly doubt about that.
Right.
Because if you look into the property of virus, including all influenza virus, they may change their property at any point of time with beyond our imagination. So
Yes.
I don't agree with the statement of Covishield giving lifelong protection. Probably we may require annual booster vaccination according to the change in the nature of the vaccine. That is my opinion, sir.
Thank you. Ashish, your inputs there?
Yeah, I'm totally agree with Dr. Jayaprakash that we cannot rely on this report 100% which is published. It's very early to say whether it is providing lifelong immunity or not. So we need to continue with the COVID appropriate behavior, and we need to take boosters, is my opinion also. It will be there very soon.
And Dr. Giri?
Sir, with the time, the weaning of the antibodies is going to happen, sir. So the time will tell. I think it will give the lifetime immunity. That is of doubt, sir. The time has to tell. So we completely doesn't rely on the vaccine, sir. COVID appropriate behavior.
Dr. Rupesh? Quick.
Certainly, the lifetime immunity, we don't know, because it is nearly just only 1.5 years we have gone through the vaccine, coronavirus infection. And they give 11-month protection by Covishield, the literature I go through. So we can agree with the 11 month of protection given by the Covishield, but I can doubt about the lifetime protection by Covishield, because there are many more variants come in the
Future. In the pipeline. They are getting
pipeline. So certainly this is the vaccine against the spike protein, and spike protein is only the way by which the coronavirus infect the persons. The lambda is there, which have got 7 mutation, and kappa have 6, 7 spike protein changes. Delta plus variant have got only 3 spike protein variations. So certainly I doubt about the lifetime protection with Covishield. But as per the data available, 11-month protection they are giving. So we can assure 11 protection, 11-month protection human man can have with this Covishield.
As of now, as of
Yes.
now. Dr. Aditya, your take on this?
Sir, there's a big question mark, and we seriously doubt on the claims.
Right. So you are very skeptical, and there is entire panel is skeptical on this data, which is
Sir, it has been only
one
11
of the
months, as Dr. Rupesh said, it has been only 11 months to just experience COVID. We
Yes.
only know the tip of the iceberg. How can we claim it is going to give us immunity for a
you
lifetime?
agree with my point that Talaivar, Rajnikant, whatever says is
Exactly.
So before wrapping up today's program, because it's being already 9:40 plus, okay, let's wrap up, quickly. Sir, how do you want to, in 2 lines, how do you want to, Dr. Jaiprakash, how do you want to, what is your take-home message here?
My actually 2 points. One is we are the coronavirus with its variation or variant is near to us. So we have to take all measures by stopping the spread at the source itself by doing COVID appropriate behavior and scaling up our vaccine production and rolling out at a faster rate and addressing the vaccination to the more vulnerable group, including probably the children will be the need of the person. So I end that we all are safe when everyone is safe. That is my last point.
Dr. Rupesh?
Sir, I just a little bit, as you give the name Dasamukha to this webinar, in ancient time, Dasamukha is a Ravan, hai na?
Yeah.
Who affect the human life as a character, hai na?
Yeah.
And this Dasamukha virus affect the human life as a physical, bodily. So both are the same. One is going to give learning to correct your character, and this give learning lesson to you appropriate behavior among all of us. Avoid the overcrowding, COVID appropriate behavior, keep hand sanitization, wear the mask and everything. So this Dasamukha trained you for just gentle behavior in your human life day to day together and not overcrowding. Protect yourself, protect others. So COVID appropriate behavior is the final tagline, and certainly this is Dasamukha who try to teach you COVID appropriate behavior.
Fantastic summary. Ashish?
My take-home message is for the persons who have not still taken the vaccine. So the message is, don't wait for the best vaccine to come. Take whatever available to you in the country as soon as possible.
Thank you. And Giri?
So my take-home message is very clear. Take the 2 doses of vaccine, and if booster comes, take that also. COVID appropriate
I didn't
behavior.
understand. You said 2 packs of
2
alcohol.
doses.
2 doses.
Sir,
So
2
already
doses
10
of-
o'clock now, you are, probably I thought, you are running to get the 2 packs. Daily 2 packs. No, 2 doses of packs.
2 doses of vaccine,
Right.
COVID appropriate behavior, and if the booster of the vaccine comes, take that also. And early detection of the COVID is also very, very important if the variants comes. This is my take-home message.
Right. Aditya?
Sir, my take-home message is that vaccination should be voluntarily done, and all those who are medically eligible, they should be encouraged to get vaccinated, and the message should be gone out to the public loud that mask and the social distancing should be practiced.
Thank you all my dear panelists and audience for for a brilliant webinar. I'm sure this is one of the best webinars in the CCA history. And looking at this conclusion points, what I conclude is change is very, very essential for survival. So COVID virus is producing a lot of mutants, and that's why it is enhancing its survival in the community. Simultaneously, humans, we should also equally, if not more smart than virus and COVID virus. So we must also change, and we must, keep our principal things like COVID appropriate behavior, that is sanitization, masking, and social safe distance. We have to practice. I see here Dr. Krishna Anna, okay, entered into the chat webinar. Krishna Anna, please, your inputs.
Am I audible to everyone here?
Yes,
Good
Anna.
evening, sir.
Good evening.
Actually, should I tell you, today, after a long gap, I watched a webinar of CCA. You all know that I had taken a break. I went to a holiday, everything. Today I watched it and I tell you, it was spectacular. Vijay, make a note of this, that all these today's thing, collect a message from each and everyone here.
Yep.
Let them prepare a paragraph each
Yes, Anna.
and let us release a bulletin of this. Because
Definitely.
this is a powerful webinar, and as you know that I quoted this as Dashamukha,
Yep.
and you 6 people actually behaved like the Dashamukha against against the Dashamukha you behaved. So you were Shashtamukha. So you are
here, Anna, if you permit, I will add here. Okay, with all the 6 spaces, there is Naran Pradeepa who has joined here. Krishna Anna there. Okay, with this and Vinod and Puneet are also there. So we are also, 10 equally forced spaces against the Dashamukha. 10 have completed.
the host has asked me to start my video.
Hmm.
I will not be starting it now. Sorry. Okay, so no, actually, let us come back to the my original pickups. See, absolutely, I would compliment today. My friend Rakesh Chawla's son is here. No, what is it? Ashish Chawla. No,
Sir,
Aditya.
sir, Aditya Chawla.
Aditya Chawla.
Aditya Chawla. Arey, my son's name is also Aditya.
Hmm.
Aditya, my son's name
Yes.
is also Aditya. He
Thank you,
is an asset to CC in future. Agree with me?
No element of doubt. That's why when I introduce him, I have seen a dynamic, upcoming leader for CCI in future. Right. He is
Definitely.
very dynamic.
And nevertheless, Jayaprakash sir, with his wisdom,
Jayaprakash sir is, another Murli Mohan sir. Sir, sorry to compare with someone, but I can see well composed and thoroughly read, knowledgeable person of CCI. Sir, hats off to you, sir. Sir, looking forward for your participation in many more upcoming webinars and then academic activities. Please bless CCI with your, wisdom.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I will go ahead ending. Conclusion to be made. Today's webinar has to be documented by every reason. Why? Because take home message should be brought out. And watching today's webinar should create a lesson to everyone across the nation and even the globe, that how variants are going to come and how we should battle them up. And actually speaking, such an effort was never made by anyone anywhere. I hope everyone agrees with me. Hello.
Welcome, Anna. Welcome.
Yeah, so
sir.
forcefully. Okay. Yeah. So I'll tell you, Vijay, go ahead, and I tell you the entire credit goes to Vijay here. He's the captain of the ship, and beautifully he took there everything. I liked you quoting 2 pegs, 3 pegs and all, and Rajnikant also you quoted. Fantastic. But the talents which were fetched here were brilliant. Giriraj Bomma, absolutely fantastic. And I did quote the others also. And there were 2 more of them. You should kindly forgive me for my Dr. Rupesh
Ashish Jain, let me tell you,
Ashish Jain.
Anna, Ashish Jain is a
Ashish.
speaker. I can see
They
a
were
brilliant speaker.
absolutely
in-
brilliant. I tell you, absolutely
Right.
brilliant.
The way he is, picking up is like, I thought at some point of time, he is, his mentor is Rajadhar. Like that. Good.
Oh my God. Oh my
And
God.
Giri, definitely, we have to pull him every month inside.
No,
Okay.
I will, Raja,
My
एक
pleasure,
बहुत अच्छा
sir.
दोस्त है मेरा. राजा मेरा बहुत अच्छा दोस्त है, मैं उससे बोलूंगा ये बात आशीष के बारे में ना।
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
yeah.
My pleasure.
आशीष जूनियर राजा मैं बोलूंगा, बिल्कुल बोलूंगा।
बिल्कुल sir. Thank you
And,
very much.
And I will definitely put a word to Rakesh Chawla also regarding your credibility, Aditya Chawla.
and Rupesh sir, well composed. I think he's the only person who sat little away from camera. I think sir is holding some glass in his hand.
Exactly. But Rupesh Modi, I heard his inputs, and I tell you that he spoke being very modest. That was highly appreciated. Modestly he spoke.
So thank you, sir. Looking forward for your participation in future.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So you go ahead concluding and
In another 1-2 minutes, I'll conclude. So looking at the, as I was discussing, change is very, very important. So changing virus is, brilliantly and smartly changing. Bye, Anna. Good night.
bye.
Thank you. Thank you for making it, more lively.
Thank you. Pleasure is equally mine.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. So virus is changing at a rapid rate, producing so many variants. We must equally flexible and more wise than COVID virus, so that we will face this pandemic more effectively. And vaccination rates, we have to accelerate so that the herd immunity is acquired because of vaccination rather than because of infection. This is very, very important. And mind you, the literature says that the vaccines which are available as of now may not be sufficient for the future COVID variants. So that's why the active R&D department across the globe must look into these variants and their and the current vaccine effectiveness about the current existing variants and then future variants, and then they must design new changes, include a lot of new antigens, so that the entire globe is blessed with appropriate vaccines as per the requirements. And yes, third wave, there was a lot of discussion happened, and as Aditya rightly quoted, 16% children are seropositive as of today in India. So less amount of AC receptors means less chance of infection with virus, but we don't know what we have in the future.
What lies in the
So please restrict our kids to Lakshmana Rekha, and let's save them, and let's flatten the curve of COVID in third wave, because we don't know how second wave would have behaved in last year. But we know certainly that what amount of catastrophe that we have faced in this pandemic. That's why let's be more vigilant. Let's protect our kids. Let's protect our nation, thereby protecting the globe. And yes, remdesivir, monoclonal antibodies, plasma, these may not be effective in the upcoming days. We have to look for current variant specific antibodies, monoclonal antibodies, and antivirals. If they are in pipeline, we are looking forward for evidence to come in so that we can use appropriately. Thank you, one and all, for a brilliant evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.